So, hello and welcome back to Heidi by Johanna Spyri, where we began book two yesterday? I think yesterday. I don't know. Time is a weird and wibbly wobbly construct, and I'm not sure what day it is most days of the week anymore. I hope you're better at keeping track of time than I am. I think it's a side effect of living out in the woods where time really doesn't matter except for once or twice a week when you actually have to worry about things. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing good. And we began book two of Heidi, where we found out that poor Clara won't be able to come up and visit Heidi this season, I guess, because she's not doing well. But the doctor is coming up to visit Heidi, and Clara packed a whole huge tub parcel. Words are hard sometimes. We actually, side note, we actually got a massive cool down yesterday, which, well, good was weird because 2 days ago I was melting and today I'm wearing a sweater. It's very odd. I'm not really complaining. I'm not ready for winter. I'm not ready for summer to actually be over, but it is nice not to be sweating to death. So, thank goodness for small favors, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of small favors, we're going to see exactly how many small favors and things that Heidi is thankful to as we jump back in to chapter 2 of book 2 of Heidi by Johanna Spyri, which is titled A Guest on the Alm. The mountains were glowing in the early dawn, and the wind was blowing through the fir trees and rocking their old branches vigorously to and fro. Heidi opened her eyes. The sound had awakened her. She loved this rushing sound and could hardly wait to go outside, so she jumped from her bed and hurriedly dressed. When she came down the ladder, her grandfather's couch was empty. She ran outside, and there he stood in front of the hut, gazing up at the sky as he did every morning to see what kind of a day it was going to be. Rosy clouds were floating above, and the sky grew bluer and bluer, and the heights in the pasture land seemed flooded with gold, for the sun was just rising above the cliffs. "Oh, how beautiful! Good morning, Grandfather," called Heidi. "Well, are your eyes already open?" he asked her. Then Heidi ran under the fir trees and danced under their swaying boughs. The wind rushed and roared in the treetops, and Heidi shouted with joy. Meanwhile, the grandfather had gone into the shed and had milked Schwanli and Barley. He brushed and washed them for their journey up the mountain and then brought them outside. When Heidi saw her friends, she ran to them and threw her arms around their necks, and they bleated trustfully. As if they were anxious to give proof of their affection, they pressed closer and closer to Heidi so she was almost crushed between them. But Heidi was not afraid. And when the lively Barley butted and pushed a bit too hard, she said, "No, Barley, you push like Big Turk." And then Barley drew back her head and retreated to a proper distance. Then Schwanli stretched up her neck and bleated in a superior way as if to say, "No one shall think of me that I behaved like Big Turk." For the snow-white Schwanli was much more dignified than the lively Barley. Peter's whistle sounded from below, and soon all the other lively goats came leaping up the mountain, nimble Distelfink ahead of all the rest. Heidi ran into the middle of the flock, which jostled her hither and thither with their affectionate greetings. "You can come with me today," said Peter. "No, I can't, Peter," said Heidi. "My friends may come from Frankfurt any minute now, and I have to be at home to meet them." "You've said that a bunch already," said Peter. "But it's still true, and it will be true until they come," said Heidi. "Don't you know that I must be at home when they're coming from Frankfurt just to see me?" And then Grandfather's deep voice sounded from inside the hut. "Why isn't the army moving forward? Is it the fault of the field marshal or is it the fault of the troops?" And in a twinkling, Peter spun around and then swung his rod into the air, making it whistle. The goats, who knew the sound well, started at full speed up the mountain with Peter behind. Every morning, Heidi made her bed, smoothing it until it looked quite even, and then she would run around the hut, placing every chair in its place, and if anything was lying or hanging about, she would put it tidily into the closet. Then she took a cloth, climbed up on a stool, and rubbed the table until it was perfectly clean. When her grandfather came back in, he would look around and say, "Now it's always like Sunday here. Heidi didn't go away for nothing, I guess." Today also, after Peter left, Heidi set about with her work, but it was such a beautiful morning that after a few minutes she ran outside to look up at the sky and to listen to the wind roaring through the fir trees. Then the Almuncle was busy in the shop when he heard her calling out, "Grandfather, Grandfather, come!" Almuncle hurried out, afraid something might have happened to the child. He saw her running towards the cliff, screaming, they're coming, and the doctor in front." Heidi rushed out to meet her friend, who held out his hand to greet her. "How do you do, Doctor? 1,000 thank yous." "Good morning, Heidi," he said with a smile. "But why do you thank me?" "Because you helped me come home," she said. The doctor's face lit up. He had not expected such a reception in the Alps. He had supposed that Heidi would barely remember him at all. "But where are Clara and the grandmamma?" said Heidi. "I have to tell you something, and it will pain you as well as me," said the doctor. "You see, Heidi, I've come by myself. Clara has been very ill and was not able to take the journey, so grandmamma did not come either. But in the spring, when the days are warm and long again, then they will surely come." At first Heidi said nothing. She looked up at the doctor as though bewildered by her disappointment. Then she noticed the sad expression in his eyes, and she thought maybe he was worrying because Clara and the grandmamma had been unable to come. "Never mind," she said, for Heidi could not bear to have anyone looking sad. "Spring will soon be here. Now we will go meet my grandfather." And hand in hand with her friend, she climbed up to the hut. The Almuncle had heard so much about the doctor, he felt as though he already knew Heidi's friend and held out his hand in welcome. The two men sat down on the bench in front of the hut, making space for Heidi between them. The doctor whispered that a big package which he had brought from Frankfurt just for her would soon come up the mountain, and that it would give her more pleasure than any old doctor could. Heidi was very curious to know what was in it. The grandfather urged his new friend to spend the beautiful autumn days on the Alm, so the doctor decided, instead of going as far away as Ragatz, to take a room at an inn in Dorfli and come up onto the mountain every morning. Meanwhile, Almuncle went into the hut, but immediately came out again with the table and placed it in front of the bench. "There now, Heidi, bring out what we need to eat. If our cooking is a bit plain, our dining room is all that could be desired." "I think so too," said the doctor as he gazed down into the valley bathed in sunlight. "And I accept your invitation. Everything must taste better up here." Heidi ran back and forth, setting the table while grandfather prepared the meal. He came out with a steaming jug of milk and golden toasted cheese, and he cut thin, delicious slices of meat which he had dried in the pure mountain air. The doctor said he had never in his life had such a delicious meal. And we have a picture. Yes, indeed. Clara must come up here, he said. She would gain strength, and if she should have such an appetite as I do today, she would soon become plump and robust like she has never been in all of her life. Then someone came climbing up from down below with a big pack on his back. Ah, here's what I brought from Frankfurt, said the doctor, standing up and pulling Heidi along with him. Come, child, help me open it. Heidi's eyes grew wide with astonishment when the doctor lifted the lid, and then she screamed with delight. Oh, see? See the nice cakes Clara sent for the grandmother to eat with her coffee? And here's a big sausage and a shawl and other things, too. Heidi wanted to gather the things together and hurry down to grandmother's right away, but her grandfather promised that she could go later, when the doctor went down into the valley. At the bottom, Heidi found the big bag of tobacco, and Almuncle was pleased. He immediately filled his pipe, and the two men sat on the bench and talked while Heidi ran back and forth examining her treasures. Suddenly she came back to the bench, and she looked up at the doctor. Nope, nothing has given me more pleasure than the old doctor has, she said. The doctor laughed, and he said that he wouldn't have thought it. Later, when the sun went down behind the mountains, he rose to go back to Dorfli to find lodgings. Grandfather put the box of cakes, the sausage, and the shawl under his arm, and the doctor took Heidi by the hand, and they went down the mountain to Peter's hut. Here, Heidi was to wait until her grandfather came for her after accompanying the doctor down into the village. Would you like to go to the pasture tomorrow? Heidi asked the doctor, for that was the most beautiful place she knew. To be sure, he told her. We will go together. After the men left, Heidi went into the grandmother's hut. First, she pulled in the box of cakes, and then she had to go out again and bring in the other presents, for her grandfather had set everything down in front of the door. She brought the warm gray shawl and put it on Grandma's lap. The presents are from Clara and her grandmamma, said Heidi. Surely, grandmother, you're pleased with the cakes, right? Yes, indeed, Heidi. What good people they are, said the astonished grandmother, stroking the shawl. But this will be splendid for the cold winter. I never dreamed I would own anything as magnificent as this. Heidi was surprised that the grandmother should be more delighted with the shawl than with the cakes. Meanwhile, Brigitte just stood staring at the big sausage on the table. In her entire life, she had never seen such a giant sausage, and the fact that she was going to have it for her own seemed too good to be true. We must ask Uncle what this is meant for, she said. It's meant to eat, silly, and nothing else, said Heidi. Right then, Peter came stumbling in. The Almuncle is coming in just behind me. Heidi must... His eyes fell on the table, and the sight of the sausage so overpowered him that he couldn't say another word. Almuncle never went by the hut now without stopping to speak with the grandmother, but today was late, and Heidi needed her sleep. So he merely called good night through the open door, and he took Heidi's hand as she ran out to meet him. And then the two of them made their way under the twinkling stars and back to their peaceful hut. And that is the end of chapter 2. I honestly don't blame grandmama or grandmother. It's hard to keep track of which one is grandmama and which one is grandmother. But I don't blame her for being a little more excited about something to keep her warm than just some cakes to eat with coffee. After all, things that keep you warm last a whole lot longer than just something to eat. So grandmother's making the right call there. I also, it's kind of weird to me from a fat privileged American standpoint to really relate to the whole idea of only seeing meat on the table like once a month, maybe. And so it's a little hard for me to relate to Bridget and Peter being so astonished by a sausage. I kind of wonder how long that sausage is supposed to last. I also wonder how big it is. Is it like a big old foot long or 3 foot long giant Wiener Schnitzel? Or is it just a small little sausage and they're going to have little itty bitty slices every meal or something? That's a good question that I don't have the answer to. I am grateful that I've been privileged enough to never actually experience real hunger for very long. It really makes you stop and think. Anyway, with that philosophical rambling, that is where we're going to leave it tonight. Don't forget there won't be a chapter tomorrow night. I will be doing something on a live stream. Don't actually know what yet. Could be art, could be The Sims, could be a different game. You never know. I am learning to play Phasmophobia, although I'm terrible at it. But I am learning to play it, kinda, sorta. I don't know if it would be fun to stream that solo, though. It's a game that's a lot more fun with friends. Anyway, but no matter what, you are more than welcome to join as I fumble through whatever it is that I end up doing. Thank you so much for listening. Please do hit the thumbs up on your way out. That does always make me smile. And I will see you next time.